one of the problems I have with conservatives is what I view as let's do a compliment sandwich, or maybe just, well, not a compliment sandwich. Let me say this. Conservatives have strong individual willpower, meaning they respect the individual rights, they believe in personal responsibility, and I can respect that, but they also are really bad at banding together to actually solve problems that they face, that the individual faces, or that conservative values or traditional values face. And I feel like it's fair to say that often conservatives, the right, the traditional, are on the losing end of things. There's a belief that over time, society becomes more and more left, that the left eventually wins out and conservative ideals die out. I don't know if that's exactly true. Some people have said that it's liberty wins. And so traditional values in this country have been racist, they have been sexist, and in increasing the amount of freedom is what has actually won, not necessarily liberalism. And so if that's the case, then the left will probably lose because they're becoming more regressive and they're becoming more oppressive and restrictive and things of that nature. But there have been a few different instances where I feel like if the right just actually unified and actually had a plan and acted more like a collective, well, then they would win. But that's at its core, that's not what many conservatives are. And I don't think it's necessarily that they're not a collective. It's just that people who are more individualist will find themselves on the conservative side of the argument more often than not. But let's take a look at this story from the Daily Caller, because basically, and look, I don't condone the violence and collective action and the lies and the deceit. I'm just saying that I think conservatives tend to lose a lot of these fights simply because they don't know how to unite to change things. The internet has helped alleviate this because now we've seen conservatives actually take action, engage in activism that has actually resulted in things happening, like James Gunn getting fired and the disruption of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wow, I couldn't believe that happened. But let's take a look at this. Twitter reverses ruling after Backlash, concedes it is against the rules to wish death upon Dana Loesch's children. I'm always confused by why her name is Dana Loesch, because it's spelled Loesch, and I've always called her that. But Twitter reversed course Monday and suspended a Twitter account that said National Rifle Association spokeswoman Dana Loesch has to have her children murdered. I don't want to read this, okay? You can see it on the screen. So the only way these people will learn it is if it affects them directly, Twitter user Millen Legius wrote in reply to Loesch on Sunday. So if Dana Loesch has to have her children murdered before she'll understand, then they say that that's what needs to happen. Okay, so apparently Twitter initially ruled on Sunday that after carefully reviewing the reported tweet, that it had no violation of the Twitter rules against abusive behavior. But Dana Loesch is famous, and for the love of God, it has to be against the rules to wish death upon the children of people you don't like. But this is a little bit further than that because it could almost be incitement saying this is what needs to happen. Her children need to die. For the love of God, that has to be wrong. That's a violation of someone's rules, right? What worries me is that there's a fine line. The old story of the king who said, "Oh, won't someone rid me of this priest?" And then someone went and killed the priest, and the king was like, "No, I didn't actually mean it." But that's what could happen in this situation. And it's like, are you allowed to imply that you'd like something to happen if you don't really mean it? It's tricky. Following news coverage from media outlets, including the Daily Caller News Foundation, Twitter re-reviewed the report on Monday and changed its ruling. "We have re-reviewed this account you reported and have locked it because we found it to be in violation of the Twitter rules," Twitter wrote in an email to Dana's husband, Chris Loesch, who shared it with the DCNF. So why did I bring up conservatives not banding together, being too individualist? Because I've got a couple stories here of conservatives actually becoming rather collectivist. And it's a weird thing, right? I've heard people talk about international nationalists. People have mocked nationalists for saying this. And it's like, no, listen, like there's nuance. I understand what the idea of international nationalists is. It's not to imply an oxymoron or paradox. It means they're people who advocate for national sovereignty and they encourage other countries to do the same. It's rather simple. You don't have to be ignorant about it. Oh, Jesus. There's a bunch of stuff pointed at Dana Loesch, insulting her and using certain words that probably would get someone banned. But here we can see something. Dana Loesch is famous. So when this happened to her and she reported, they ignored her. And that's normal. I've had people say really fucked up shit to me, and Twitter's like, so what? I had someone threaten me with physical violence saying, if you come to this event, we will fuck you up. And Twitter was like, oh yeah, but it's not credible. I was shocked. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, these people are actually saying they will physically harm me, steal from me. Someone commented something like, I dare you to come to the event, I'll steal your phone. And I'm like, okay, that has to be, that's a threat, right? They're threatening to steal my stuff, which is a crime. They're threatening me, and Twitter said it was fine that they were saying it. And I'm like, they're trying to scare me into not covering the news, and Twitter doesn't care. But here we have a thing. Here we have a circumstance where, because Dana is famous and people on the right spoke up and made a hubbub about it, Twitter actually reversed and said, oh, okay, wait, okay. It is against the rules to say you want someone's children dead, right? They point out, I wish Twitter just treated all users consistently, Dana told the DCNF. She is used to abuse on Twitter where the replies to her tweets are often misogynistic. Yeah, it's really funny that the people who claim to be opposed to sexism and racism don't care when it happens to people like Dana Loesch. Listen, I understand that you might not like her policy on, say, Black Lives Matter, or her personal position and opinion on Black Lives Matter, or on gun issues, but simply because she is a spokeswoman for the NRA and believes in the Second Amendment, whether or not you disagree with her, whether or not you think she is a terrible person, how does that ever justify calling her a cunt, a feckless cunt, attacking her and harassing her? I don't see the left speaking like, you know, it'd be really great. And here's the thing, people call me conservative because I do this. Because I say, you know what, Dana, I once got an offer to appear on NRA TV, and I'm not going to do it. I understand the Second Amendment, and I agree with it to an extent, but I do think we do have room for improving our laws to protect. We can fix stuff. We can make things better. And one of the arguments I've been told is that because the Second Amendment is a right, it can't be infringed upon, it can't be changed. And I'm like, yes, I understand that argument, but we also need to understand that times do change, and we do have to adapt. Thomas Jefferson talked about purging a government every 100 or 200 years or something to that effect. And I don't know what that means, because it doesn't mean we get rid of the Constitution, which I hope not, because I like the Constitution, but I also think we need to amend it. And that's why it has the ability to be amended. But I don't want to get into the gun debate. I just want to point out that I very clearly disagree with Dana on many, many issues. And I will be one of the first people to come out and be like, how fucking dare you call her a cunt? Dude, you don't have to like her, but don't do it. Why are you going to do that? You know what I mean? How are you going to claim to be opposing sexism and then not stop people or complain about this kind of behavior? I made a video the other day where I had people tweeting at me and commenting that because I wasn't going to take a hardcore stance, with the anti-SJWs, that I was a stupid fence sitter and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, if you're like, the anti-SJWs, maybe they don't realize it, maybe they do, but you got a lot of assholes within your ranks. And I don't have anything to do with that. Like, I met Lacey Green a few years ago, I can't remember exactly when, and this was before, she was with Chris Reagan and doing these shows and talking about these issues, and she was very much in line with these issues. I'm not going to be mean to her. Why would I do that? That's not cool. I want to understand why she thinks what she does, and maybe we can come to an understanding. And she taught me a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I can only assume I taught her a lot of stuff she probably didn't know, and mostly about like opinions and views of people. I think there's a lot of people who are moderate left, moderate right, who understand this. But then you get this crazy partisan nonsense that happens. Well, why is it okay to be like, Gamergate is misogynist, but I don't see you coming out and defending Dana Loesch from the people who are calling her a cunt? Anyway, back to the point about conservatives. Well, I go off on these tirades, forgive me. I got this story here. Conservative Facebook employees are organizing to attack the liberal company's intolerant culture. And I saw this story and I was like, wow. For the longest time, I'd never seen a conservative protest. I've seen rallies like the Tea Party stuff where they wave little American flags and they elect people. And that was the most I saw when it came to organizing from the right. But now I'm actually seeing right-wing street protest. And it's kind of like, maybe the right has been lagging behind the left, or maybe it's just that the people who believed in street protest used to be on the left and moved or more independent. I don't know. I can say I've seen people on the right street protest unprepared. The left, they wear goggles. Like, I've got goggles because I know I'll get pepper sprayed. I've been sprayed all over the face and neck before, and I have goggles to protect my eyes. But I've seen a lot of people who are conservative don't have any of that. And they try to flush their eyes with water, but the left brings, Maalox and milk in spray bottles to deal with pepper spray because they're prepared, and the right isn't. So maybe it's just that the right is now catching up to how these tactics work and what they can do. So apparently this story, I'm not going to read too much through it, but more than 100 politically conservative Facebook employees have formed a new internal group to complain that the famously liberal company is intolerant of opposing political thought, according to a report from the New York Times on Tuesday. I don't know if this will have any effect. It's not the first time we've heard something like this. I mean, the James Damore thing at Google, it's people are discouraged from coming out and saying they're conservative. And then these companies will, here we go. On Tuesday, President Trump accused Google, without providing evidence, of silencing conservative news publications in its search results. Personally, I don't believe that to be true. I do think that we have a problem with YouTube. YouTube's trying to fight fake news, so they're auto-propagating political search results with like random content from mainstream news organizations. And it's like, I was trying to search for something specific about not Ocasio-Cortez, what was it? About CNN and the fakes. Okay, so CNN did this fake story. It's a big controversy. I made a video about it. They refused to retract, even though Lanny Davis said the story wasn't true. And I was trying to find more about that on YouTube, because I had done a video on it, and I couldn't. Because when I searched for it, they gave me a bunch of random news stories about Trump and Lanny Davis and Cohen that had nothing to do with what I searched for. So anyway, I digress. I'm going to rant here. Basically, is this the rise of conservative organization and conservative street protest? Conservative employees trying to fight back against the liberals who have dominated? I think that the left, being naturally collectivist, have an advantage in they're naturally going to form these collectives with a lot of power. And the conservatives, who are more individualist, are not going to have that advantage. But now conservatives are actually becoming a bit collectivist to defend themselves against these kinds of problems. So I wonder if that I wonder what'll happen. The last thing I'm going to say is, regardless of whatever happens, the midterms are going to make everyone lose their goddamn minds, and prepare for hell, okay? Seriously, everything we've seen over the past year with fake news, with lies, with deceit, prepare for the worst you have ever seen it, because the midterms are coming up and the left is on the losing end of everything right now. So they're going to fight back as hard as they can, and probably by any means necessary. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys tomorrow.